Welcome back to Bible Basics for New Believers. In our last two videos, we talked about Bible translations and Bible reading plans. Hopefully by now you've selected a Bible translation and reading plan that works for you and are starting on your way to reading the Bible. Remember, our goal in these videos is to give you the information that will help you read your Bible with both confidence and understanding. Today, we will talk about how that information can give you that confidence and begin to look at how the Bible is structured. David Platt, who is a Christian author and a pastor and a Bible teacher, says this about Bible reading and Bible study. Context is king. All of us understand what it means to be taken out of context. And if you've had that experience, it certainly most likely has not been a pleasant one. When we speak of context in reading and studying the Bible, we think first of what was the original intent of the writer, what were the circumstances and reasons behind the writing. And secondly, we look at the material around that passage. For instance, as far as a sentence or two before and after, as far as a paragraph before or two after, and even as much as a chapter before or after. The first, where we are looking at the reason and circumstances, is known as historical context. The second, where we look at the material around what we're reading, is known as textual context. All of the material I am about to present to you will help you keep your Bible reading in context. This is very important because if we do not keep things in context, we come to the wrong conclusions. And when we come to the wrong conclusions, we can hurt both ourselves and those around us. But if we keep things in context, we will come to the truth. And by applying that truth, we ourselves will not only benefit, but those around us also will benefit. Context also helps us to see the big picture of the Bible. Our first step in getting context is seeing how the Bible is organized. We in Western culture have a certain expectation when we pick up a book. That is, we think of it as a beginning, middle, and end. For instance, in a novel, in the beginning, the characters are introduced. In the middle, we see the development of the plot, and at the end, we see everything resolved. When reading the Bible, this works to a certain extent. When we first start reading in Genesis and read all the way up to Judges, things seem to be working pretty well, and we can understand the flow of what's going on. But then we hit Ruth. And Ruth seems to be a little bit of a bunny trail. Start again in 1 Samuel, and we work our way all the way to 2 Kings, and things seem all right at this point. But we hit the Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and we say to ourselves, haven't we just read all this material? And then we get back on track with Ezra and Nehemiah. But again, we run into Esther, and Esther seems a bit of a bunny trail. And Job comes next, and we can't understand how that fits in any way. And why then are there Psalms and Proverbs being stuck in right at this point? And when we read on, we get up to Isaiah and Jeremiah, and we're back looking at things that happened in 2 Kings. And at this point, we're ready to throw up our hands and say the Bible is nothing but a mishmash collection of things. But that is far from the truth. The Bible is organized, but is not organized in a way that we are used to, in a logical, chronological order. It is organized rather around subject or literary type. When we understand that organization, it helps us to keep things in context and understand better what we are reading. We are now going to look at our Books of the Bible chart, and if you want a copy, there is a link below where you can download it. So as we look at our chart, we see the first division of the Bible is into the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament has 39 books. The New Testament has 27. for a total of 66 books. Testament carries the meaning of covenant or agreement. In the Old Testament, that centers around God and Israel, and in the New Testament, it centers around Christ and the church. In between the two testaments is the period known as the intertestamental period, often referred to as the 400 years of silence, because God gives no new written revelation then. The big mistake we make is thinking of the Bible as two separate books. Instead, we should think of it in this way. The New Testament is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. The God of the Old Testament is the same God of the New Testament. Without the Old Testament, we are not fully able to understand the New Testament. Jesus and the New Testament writers had only the Old Testament to make their points and arguments. Their teachings become the New Testament. Hopefully now you will have better context as you start reading your Bible. In the next video, we will see how the Old Testament and New Testament are held together and look further at the organization of the Bible. If you're enjoying this series, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. And until next time, God bless.